Welcome back. Today we are diving deep into Chapter 1400 of the Manual of Patent Examining Procedure. That's the part covering how you fix mistakes in patents after they've issued.
And we're zeroing in on a really specific area, applying that whole correction process, known as reissue, to design patents, aesthetic inventions.
Right. It's not just about words on a page like utility patents. How do you correct a picture?
Yeah.
That's our mission today, understanding the tight rules and maybe surprising twists for design reissue.
That's it, exactly. With utility patents, you're often tweaking claim language, maybe a long list of claims, but designs, usually one claim, very visual. So applying these correction rules retrospectively, it definitely needs its own set of, let's call them legal guardrails. We're aiming to give you the roadmap for those.
Okay. And before we jump in, just a quick shout out to Mike Shepard, the creative director behind this MPP series. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, great work putting this together.
And the usual disclaimer, this is for learning and info only. It's not legal advice. Always check the official MPP and talk to a registered patent practitioner for specific guidance.
Absolutely crucial. Okay, ready to dive in?
Let's do it. All right, let's lay the groundwork. Before we get into the design specifics, what are the big overarching rules that apply to any kind of patent reissue? Utility or design, doesn't matter.
Okay, two fundamental pillars here, intent and scope. First, intent. The whole basis for reissue is correcting an error made without any deceptive intention. That's the language.
Meaning an honest mistake, basically,
Yeah.
not trying to pull a fast one.
Exactly. It's a mechanism to fix a genuine slip-up, not a backdoor way to file a totally different patent you wish you'd thought of earlier.
So if I, patent my cool new chair, the Z chair, 3 years ago, and now I realize I completely forgot to show the matching ottoman in the drawings, I can't just add the ottoman via reissue, can I?
Probably not. And that leads straight into the second pillar. Scope, specifically the new matter rule. You absolutely cannot introduce new matter.
Meaning anything that wasn't in the original patent filing.
Correct. The correction has to be fully supported by what you originally submitted. The drawings, the description, everything that was there when the patent first granted. If the ottoman wasn't shown or described at all originally, adding it now would be introducing new matter. Can't do it in reissue.
Okay, makes sense. So let's stick with the Z chair.
Mm-hmm.
Say I did show everything correctly, but my claim was maybe too narrow. I realize I claimed the entire chair assembly, solid lines everywhere, but maybe some parts are just standard legs or something. I actually claimed too much structure, making my protection too limited.
Ah, okay. Now you're talking about changing the scope of the claim.
Yeah.
And that brings up the other major constraint, the 2-year broadening rule.
A clock starts ticking.
Immediately, the moment the patent grants. If your correction involves broadening the claim, meaning you're removing a limitation that was in the original patent claim, trying to cover more variations or potential infringements, you have exactly 2 years from the grant date to file that reissue application.
2 years. That's a hard deadline.
Absolute. No extensions. And critically, filing the reissue doesn't reset your patent term.
Right. You're still tied to the original filing date for the patent's lifespan.
Exactly. You're just correcting the scope within that existing term. You're not getting a do-over on the patent clock for the Z chair.
Okay, so here's where things get particularly interesting for designs, right? The Z chair runs into some unique procedural stuff because design patents are just built differently from the start. How does that affect corrections?
It's a huge factor. The biggest structural difference, simplicity, but also intensity. Design patents almost always have just a single claim.
One claim, unlike utility patents that can have dozens.
Right. The claim usually reads something like the ornamental design for the Z chair as shown. That simplifies things like fees, sure, but it means everything rides on that single visual claim and the drawings supporting it. If there's a flaw there,
your entire protection could be compromised instantly.
Precisely. And that focus on the single visual claim ripples through the whole process, even how you manage the application before it grants.
You mean things like keeping the application alive if the examiner issues a rejection?
Yeah.
The continuation practice?
Exactly. For utility patents, if you get a final rejection and want to keep arguing or amend, you typically file a request for continued examination in RCE, standard practice.
But not for designs.
Nope. RCEs are explicitly not available for design applications. It's a key difference.
Huh. So what do you do if you need to continue prosecution on a design application? You can't just let it go abandoned if you disagree with the examiner.
You use what's called continued prosecution application, or CPA practice. It's a different mechanism under a different rule, 37 CFR 1.53D. And here's the flip side. CPA practice is available, but only for design applications.
So utility gets RCEs, designs get CPAs, two separate tracks.
Correct. It's a subtle but really important procedural divergence that affects how you manage the life cycle of a design application versus a utility one.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind long before you even think about reissue.
Okay, let's bring it back to correcting the Z chair after it's issued. Let's say the original patent showed the whole chair in solid lines, claiming the entire thing. But later, I realize the truly unique, valuable part is just the sweep of the armrest, a specific subcomponent.
Right.
I made an error by not claiming just that armrest design separately. How does reissue work when the claim is visual like this? How do I fix that omission?
This is where the visual nature is paramount. For designs, the drawings are the description, essentially. They provide the support.
So any change, like making the rest of the chair dashed lines to only claim the armrest in solid lines,
Must be clearly supported by those original drawings. If the original drawings didn't show the armrest with enough clarity or didn't distinguish it sufficiently from the rest of the chair, you might be out of luck. You can't add detail that wasn't there.
Okay, let's assume the drawings do support it. I can clearly see the armrest as a distinct element in the original figures. Now, if I file a reissue to claim just the armrest, how does that fit with the broadening rule? It feels like I'm claiming less structure, not more.
This is the conceptual hurdle. It seems counterintuitive, right?
Thank you.
You are claiming less physical structure, but you are actually broadening the legal scope of protection.
Oh, so.
Think about it. The original patent only protected the Z-chair as a whole. Anyone making just the armrest wouldn't infringe. But by filing a reissue to claim only the armrest, you're removing the limitations of needing the seat, the back, the legs.
Ah, I see. So now anyone who makes that specific armrest design maybe even puts it on a totally different chair or a stool.
Exactly. They could potentially infringe the reissued patent. You've removed limitations, casting a wider net for enforcement, and that is legally considered broadening the claim scope.
Which means?
The 2-year deadline applies. You must file that reissue application within 2 years of the original Z-chair patent grant date.
Got it. That clarifies the logic. Now, what if I need this correction fast? Maybe I found someone already selling chairs with my unique armrest design. Is there a way to speed up the reissue process for designs?
Yes, actually, this is another unique feature. Expedited examination is specifically available for design reissue applications under 37 CFR 1.155.
So you can request to jump the queue, essentially.
You can. If granted, it moves the application much faster through the patent office, even potentially through an appeal if needed. It's a significant advantage if time is critical for enforcement.
But there's a catch, right? Something about public input.
There is. It's a fascinating balance. To counteract that potential speed on the inside, there's a built-in delay before the patent actually issues, even if the examiner agrees the correction is allowable right away.
Okay.
The Notice of Allowance, the document saying you're getting your patent, is deliberately withheld. It won't issue until 2 months after the reissue application is announced publicly in the official Gazette.
A public notice period?
Precisely. It gives the public, including competitors who might be watching, a 2-month window to file a formal protest arguing against the allowance of that corrected design claim.
So rapid internal review possible, but balanced by a mandatory public scrutiny period before the corrected patent is finalized.
Exactly. It's a specific statutory check designed for these design reissue situations.
Okay, one more scenario. What if, during the reissue for the Z-chair armrest, the examiner says, hold on, this armrest design is actually really distinct from the overall chair design. It's a separate invention.
That can happen. They might issue a restriction requirement, just like in a regular application. If the part you're trying to claim via reissue the armrest is deemed a packageably distinct, segregable part of the original design.
I can't just keep it in the same reissue.
No, you generally can't have 2 distinct inventions in one design pattern. In that case, you might need to file a divisional reissue application specifically for the armrest, separate from the reissue covering the now modified original chair design.
So one correction might actually lead to needing 2 separate reissue applications if the parts are distinct enough.
It could, yes. Adds another layer of complexity to consider. #outro.
Wow. Okay. We've covered intent, the no new matter rule, the critical 2-year broadening deadline, the visual nature of claims, expedited options, public protests. So, boiling it all down, what's the main takeaway for someone holding a design patent and thinking about correction?
I think the biggest takeaway is that reissue is a very tightly constrained tool for design patents. It's genuinely for fixing errors within the four corners of your original disclosure. It's not a second chance to iterate on the design or change your strategy after the fact.
The guardrails are high.
Very high. That two-year broadening rule is absolute. The prohibition on new matter, especially crucial when your disclosure is primarily visual, is absolute. The system prioritizes the public notice given by your original patent. Reissue can adjust that notice, but only modestly and only based on what was originally there.
And considering the unique procedural aspects, like no RCEs but having CPAs, and the strict single claim focus,
Hmm.
it really hammers home the need for precision right from the initial filing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. You said it perfectly earlier. The drawing sheet is the constitution for your design invention. Reissue is just a potential amendment process operating strictly within those original borders. You have less flexibility during prosecution, and the correction options later are narrow. Get it right the first time is the best advice.
Okay, so here's a final thought to leave our listeners with, building on that. Given the unique expedited examination option for design reissues, but also that mandatory 2-month public protest period after allowance is announced, if you're a competitor and you see that your rival has filed a design reissue and it's been announced for allowance, what strategic insights does that 2-month window give you? You know they're likely correcting scope, possibly broadening it, and you have a chance to object.
That's a great point. It's a short window, 2 months isn't long, but it's a very specific signal about your competitors' potential enforcement plans and where they see value or perhaps vulnerability in their original patent. Definitely something to think about, that brief but potentially revealing pause before the corrected patent issues.